Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're watching from. Thanks for tuning in today. We've got a whole bunch of stuff to talk about today, but it's been a pretty slow week in terms of travel, which is actually not a bad thing. Um, Nothing crazy going on. It's been a pretty good week, actually. We're gonna use our topics for today. There we go. So we've got a little bit more than normal. So yeah, we're gonna go ahead and just jump right into this stuff. I know we talked a lot last week about the Hyatt Vivid and that brand new resort, which is quite interesting. And so we're going to break away from that this week. We're going to talk a little bit about some more some alternate topics like Las Vegas, which I don't know. Have you? I used to love going to Las Vegas I guess when I was first old enough to go. So that would have been in the early 90s. And, we had the MGM, which was sort of more of that movie theme sort of place. It had a Wizard of Oz sort of entranceway. And then, of course, they had the theme park. Who remembers the theme park at the MGM Grand? That was a whole lot of fun. And very, very civilized because you could walk around with a beer in your hand. But it was just a lot of fun considering how hot it is on the Las Vegas Strip. But back then in the mid to late 90s, all the casinos on the Las Vegas Strip were built with such, character and themes, thematic sort of stuff. You had the Paris Hotel, you had the Aladdin switched to Planet Hollywood, and then it kind of became a big nothing burger because, it was just a casino hotel. But you had New York, which is still very interesting, as well as, we had the Sahara, we had the Mirage, Treasure Island, which used to have the pirate show, the Bellagio came in. And then things kind of went downhill where it really started going more towards just big casinos, big expensive casinos where, if you wanted a cocktail, you're going to pay $15 or $20 for a drink, which, compared to the olden days, you could go to some of the places like O'Shea's on the Strip, Barbary Coast. You used to be able to go in there and get like 4 beers for $4. So times are changing, but yeah, and to that end, we have a Vegas icon that's going to be closing. So as of July of this year, and if you haven't already seen the Beatles Love Show, clock's ticking on that because as of July, the Mirage is going to be closing. So this was the last holdout. It had the volcano out front. That was a free show. From across the 8-lane highway, you could feel the heat. So it was quite something, but it's going to be closing. Planet Hollywood has purchased the property and they are going to be basically not Planet Hollywood, sorry, Hard Rock. And so Hard Rock is going to be moving in. Hey, Dee Dee, thanks for tuning in. A lot of personality more. So yeah, 100%. I don't, you know what? I haven't even been there. I haven't been back since COVID because frankly, it just doesn't interest me that much. I remember in the days when you'd hear that magical call, cocktails. You make sure you get a 20 in the slot machine so that when the cocktail server came by, you were actively playing and you could get your free drinks. But, more often than not, it seemed like, you were ending up putting in another 20 and another 20 before she finally came back. And then you got to give her a tip. And meanwhile, it's like, okay, well, that drink just cost me $60 by the time I'm finished with, all my gambling and not winning. So for that reason, I tend to like the downtown area, Fremont Street, better because it has still somewhat retained that old school Vegas style. Oh, listen to me. Next thing you know, I'll be talking and raving about Laughlin, Nevada. I don't know. I've been to Reno before. That was a lot of fun. but it just wasn't on the same scale as Vegas. Whereas, Vegas has really, it's just become a casino town, and not in a thematic way, just it's just casinos. It's just a place for you to go and spend some money. Maybe you win, maybe you don't, but I think it's lost a lot of character and a lot of the fun. And I know, like, I get it. I'm not the demographic that they're shooting for, especially with the pool parties and the DJs and all that kind of stuff, and people sleeping until the afternoon and then going out partying at night. That's not, I mean, not that I haven't done an all-nighter in Vegas before. I mean, you just lose track of time, right? But anyways, yeah, the Mirage is going to be closing as of July. The Tropicana, if you don't already know, has already closed. That is going to be a baseball stadium. So it's the Oakland. I wrote that down somewhere. I don't remember where I wrote it down. I think it's the Oakland A's, the Oakland Athletics. So that's going to be, in theory, that's my understanding, that's the plan, is that's going to be their new stadium. That's sort of relocating everything out of Oakland and moving it to Las Vegas. So yeah, end of an era, but well, these things happen. All right, moving on. So true cruise prices are coming. Royal Caribbean and Celebrity Cruises just announced that as of, I think it's July the 4th, they will be showing true pricing. So not this like base fares start at $299 for a weekend cruise to the Bahamas or something, and then plus because you always got to add the taxes and stuff like that, port charges, all that on top. Now this is because of California. California has basically come out with a new law that says that they must state the actual price. My husband used to laugh. He used to always call it guy pricing, because at the end of the day, yes, it was a stereotype, but at the majority of the time, if I was speaking with the wife, she would ask what the price was, and then I would explain, then plus taxes, whatever. But invariably, if I was dealing with the guy to plan the trip, he didn't care what the original price was or the base fare or any of that. He just wanted to know at the end of the day, what's the price, including all the taxes. So I'm really pleased to see Royal Caribbean and Celebrity going this route. It's a major systems overhaul for them to show the pricing this way, because they've always done it the other way. Whenever I've quoted my clients, I've always quoted the full end of price, because, I mean, yes, there's always upgrades that you can do, but just the basic fare, you can't not pay it. So it's really kind of a bait and switch to not show it right up front. So I'm really glad to see that that's happening. So hopefully everyone else will be jumping on board soon. I cut my hair last week, and it's like so not a good length right now. So just excuse me while I'm fussing with it. But it's just hair. It'll grow out. Carnival announced they were doing true prices too. Yeah, I think so. So, I mean, so that's really great to see. And Carnival owns just about every other cruise line. I mean, there's Royal Caribbean and Celebrity, there's Norwegian, and yeah, I mean, there's some higher up ones. And then there's Carnival. Carnival is Holland America, Carnival Cruise Lines, obviously, Princess Cruises, Hertraguten, I think, P&O, and a couple others. So it's pretty much everybody else. Oh, and then MSC is also separate. So yeah, I suspect that they will all join in on this, and it makes sense. I mean, at the end of the day, if you're told it's going to be $300 for a cruise, and then you find out it's going to cost you $1,300 once taxes are applied and port charges and everything, I mean, nobody's going to be happy with that. So I'm glad to see this happening. Good news, revenge travel prices are leveling off. So up until COVID, a lot of people were, just traveling like normal, but prices were really good because there wasn't that huge pent-up desire. So, hotels weren't at 100% occupancy. Flights weren't full. Obviously, there's variations here and there. But for the most part, there was availability, and it's all supply and demand that dictates pricing. Well, then there was COVID, and basically nobody from Canada could go anywhere. In the US, you were less restricted, but there was still like some issues and challenges that everybody faced. And even as travel reopened, it was like the wearing a mask on a plane, having to show your COVID vaccination, or requiring a COVID vaccination to enter a specific country, that kind of thing. So there were so many restrictions that, and I mean, we all lived it, but just surmising or summarizing, that there's so much pent up frustration and desire for travel that it's really taken a long time for it to level off. What we are finally seeing, at least with Canadian flight prices, is that is starting to level off. So we're starting to see decent flight prices again. And in the US too, I think, you guys have always had a little bit better pricing because you've got so much competition, which we don't seem to want to have here. So that's worked out really well in the US. As far as the hotels, I mean, in Mexico, there's so many hotels that have just been constructed, and there's so many more that are in the works. So it's not like there's a ton of empty hotel rooms out there. They're getting used, they're getting booked. But that furor, the passion for fury for travel is starting. It's not necessarily starting to wane, but it's just that people have gotten it out of their system, and maybe they've spent a bit more than they had originally budgeted. And so we're back to the old days of you either got to save up, and then you book the trip, and then you save up again and book the trip, or you book the trip and then you spend so much time paying off your credit card until you can travel again. So we're just seeing people starting to get back into their normal rhythms of travel. And I think what's interesting about that is that as that happens, the prices will start to go down. And I mean, honestly, like the prices are somewhat ridiculous. Angela saying, yeah, flight prices out of control. Yeah, Vegas hotel rooms, exactly. But even, looking at the hotel prices, like I was just I did this 2 or 3 weeks ago. Actually, I did this before going to Cancun, comparing prices. Like the Rue in the Bahamas is like $800 a night. The Rue in Aruba is like $900 a night. Some of the hotels that pre-COVID were considered expensive at $500-600 a night, well, they're now over 1,000. So again, it's just supply and demand. What's Dee Dee saying? Anything? Yeah, legislation. Yeah, the resort fees are brutal. And I agree with you that there should be some legislation on that, in that it should be mandated that the price is the price. Like, don't mess around with this extra resort fee that's mandatory, and that is, like Angela or like Dee Dee is saying here, $300 resort fee. Like, that's insane. What are they going to give you? Well, you get a free bottle of water for that. You have access to the concierge. Don't use. You have free Wi-Fi. Hello, got data roaming. Don't need it. It's usually a lot of fluff and stuff. And or maybe it gives you access to the pool where you're there for 2 days or 2 nights. Like, how much time are you going to spend by the pool? So a lot of it's just convenience fees, really, because there's no value add to it. So, yeah, so I'm pleased to see this. And then I think some of the resorts are making a bit of a mistake. They're taking a gamble, and they're expecting that these resorts are going to be full. I mean, look at the Hyatt, again, going back to the Hyatt Vivid, that was 400 rooms. Dreams is going to have 1,000. So, when you take a look at the amount of people that are going to be going there, are they for sure going to be able to fill the hotel up? It's tricky. It's really hard to say. Angela's saying that the hotel rooms have gone double the price in Punta Cana versus Mexico. Yeah. Well, and I mean, there's a lot of higher end properties that have opened up in Punta Cana. So, especially in that Cap Cana area, which is, really 15 minutes from the Punta Cana airport. But also down in like the La Romana area, you've got the Hilton that opened up. That's, definitely 5-star. But then in Cap Cana, I mean, you've got the Sanctuary, you've got Secrets, you've got the Hyatt Ziva and Zilara Cap Cana, and now you've got Margaritaville. And I mean, those are all like 5-star properties. And yeah, but the prices, they're insane. I think it's almost $1,000 a night to stay at the Hyatt Zilara Cap Cana. And I mean, it's certainly a nice hotel. If I was to choose any of those properties to stay at, and I've stayed at everyone except Margaritaville, 100%, I would go back to the Zilara Cap Cana. Yeah, Dee Dee's saying the same thing. Yeah. And Christina is saying bucket list pricing's too crazy. Yeah. Well, look, we just need to find you a deal. But keep your eyes out, because you know what? Actually, Christine, I'll say Black Friday is when they do a lot of deals. And because you can book so far in advance, maybe I would recommend, if it's a more expensive hotel that you're looking at, I would recommend, well, obviously talk to your travel agent, but also what you can do is, if you book it directly through the hotel, you usually will have a free cancellation policy, and that's usually valid until sometimes 2 weeks or even 3 nights before arrival, and shoot for the following December. Okay, so that would mean to say, so October 2024, you would want to be booking for first or second week of December 2025, because that is the cheapest time of year to go. Angela's going to Secrets. Oh, nice. Oh, and the Tides. Oh, nice. Well, I'm curious to hear what you think of that. Secrets Cap Cana is beautiful, a beautiful resort. And I know, Angelo, I know you don't like to upgrade, but I would say Preferred Club at Cap Cana, 100% worth it. Just having access to that extra pool, the extra restaurant. Yeah, think about it. Just consider it. And Dee saying, oh, credit card. Yeah, that's the one I was gonna, well, yeah, it's tough. Like, I don't even know if I can do that as a Canadian, but y'all know I love my highs. And it's getting expensive to go all these places. I mean, it was great to stay at the Hyatt Vivid, but it was not cheap. So, as much as I love seeing these places, it's like, oh. And if any of you are watching this and want to start comping me to come to your resort, let me know. But yeah, nobody cares right now. So it's a pay your way situation. But yeah, so hopefully we'll start to see prices drop down a little bit more. And especially also as we have more and more destinations, not necessarily more destinations opening up, but more opportunities and more expanded areas. I mean, Punta Cana didn't have a whole lot of hotels in the past, but now they're starting to see a lot more, and a lot more higher end ones as well. So I think that's obviously going to have an impact on things. I'm just going to ask about Cap Cana. The Tides there saying don't do it yet because they're preferred is like Vivid and won't be in full effect. Yeah, 100%. But honestly, Angelo, that's the same with every new hotel that opens. It takes a while for them to get 100% up to speed. And with Secrets Tides, what I like is that they've been very upfront about the fact that not everything, it's a soft opening. Christine, you're familiar with the concept. Angelo, you are. Dee Dee, you are. When a resort first opens, it's never 100% operational and functional and everything. So as long as you know that going in, then it's fine, because you're getting that introductory rate, and you know that everything's not necessarily going to be open yet. I mean, why are they going to have 5-6 restaurants open when they've got like 100 rooms booked? I mean, it just doesn't make sense. So yeah, but we will start to see prices dropping off. So stay tuned for that. And I'm looking forward to seeing what kind of sales we do get for Black Friday, Cyber Monday. And remember, Travel Tuesday is not a thing. So don't be waiting for that. If you see a deal on the Black Friday, take it. All right, moving on. A laptop cost a 27-hour delay. That was interesting. Yeah, I would. If you're going to Secrets Cap Cana, I would 100% upgrade there. I mean, they've been open now since like 2017, 2018. So yeah, they're well on top of all the perks and benefits and stuff like that. So yeah, definitely. Okay, so when you fly these days, there's always an announcement that comes on. The flight attendants always say, if your phone gets, if you drop your phone or it gets lodged between your seat, to not try to retrieve it yourself, and to ring the buzzer, and they will come and assist you with this. Well, the reason is not because they want you fussing around or they're worried you're going to break the seat. They're quite worried about the fact that all cell phones use lithium-ion batteries, which are actually really, really dangerous. In as much as if the battery gets damaged, it can instantly burst into flame. So although that was an interesting article that I read that said that the flight attendants don't necessarily want to be reaching in and around your stinky, dirty seat or sweaty seat to be trying to get your phone or your laptop. But the reason they're doing that is because they know how to move the seats and manipulate things around so that they can do it and safely remove it. So, I mean, this way they can get it. They can get your phone or your laptop out, ideally without any damage to it, as well as without them having to declare an in-air emergency. One of the passengers, it was a flight that was going to, Zurich to Chicago. And the passenger's laptop got jammed in beside the seat, and they couldn't get it out. And so they were just going to be crossing the Atlantic, and in an abundance of caution, the flight attendants basically told the captain what was going on, and operationally they decided it was better for them to divert back to Europe. And so they did that. They were able to get the laptop out, safely removed it, no problem. But by that time all of that had happened, the flight crew timed out. So for safety reasons, they couldn't continue on with the journey, because they can only work for so many hours before you start to reach that fatigue point. I mean, we've all, been up too late, or we've worked extra hours before, and, for them having to be taking care of and ensuring our safety, for obvious reasons, they had to wait until they'd had enough rest and were able to fly again. So that was kind of interesting. So if you're ever curious why they say to not retrieve your own laptop or phone if it gets stuck, that's the reason why. And can you imagine, the article that I read was talking about the person whose laptop got jammed. Like, could you imagine being that person and then walking back onto that flight when everyone around you has been delayed by a full day because you dropped it between the seat or whatever you did, but it's basically your fault that everyone's a day late in getting to their destination. Like, awkward. All right, turbulent travels. So you guys all probably heard about the Singapore Airlines flight that had massive turbulence, and I kind of wanted to talk about this. I've got so many family members that either work for airlines or are flight attendants, flight crew in some capacity, that I've basically heard about this for the last 30 or 40 years, that you really ought to always wear your seatbelt when you're on a plane, just because when they're going into a storm, if they're ascending or descending, sometimes turbulence is expected, especially going into Vegas. Talked about that earlier, but going into Vegas, it's always turbulent. And that's just because of the hot air rising and coming off the mountains and blah, blah, blah. Not that I'm a scientist. And anyways, with that, it can cause turbulence. Well, at higher elevations, there's also, I forget what they call them, but the air is moving slightly different. It moves faster. Jet streams, slipstreams, I think they called. And they're basically invisible. And so all the pilots can do is try to manage around it, but they can't predict that it's happening. So if you're flying at high altitude, it's possible to hit this, and it can cause extreme turbulence. Well, on Singapore Airlines, there was a fatality, but the person had a heart attack. Whether or not that was caused from the turbulence is unknown. But there were, it ultimately ended up 30 people were treated or hospitalized for injuries on board the flight. So it's a renewed safety warning to, when you're sitting down, just always have your seatbelt on. I know it's uncomfortable, but it's the same as wearing a seatbelt in the car. And you just, like I said, you just never know what could happen. So better be safe than sorry. So like I said, a good reminder. And then our last topic of the day, we're actually moving along quite quickly today. And I'm always up for tangents. So if anyone's got any other travel topics that they want to throw out there, let me know, because I love talking travel. So no more drinking water in Spain. Yeah, they basically have had such severe drought in southern Spain, as well as in the Canary Islands and stuff like that, that what they're finding is, like, people who live in those regions are being told to not fill up their swimming pools because the water is so scarce. And they're being told to basically severely restrict their water usage, which makes sense. I mean, I'm here in British Columbia, Canada, and we've certainly seen droughts for as far back as I can remember. Same as California, and our forest fire situation has not been good. And this year, in fact, everybody's freaking out rather a lot because we just didn't get the snowpack that we thought we would get. So in terms of creating our water supply for the summer dry months, we're not sitting pretty. And so, oh, wow. Going to Barcelona, Spanish wine is good. Yeah. Well, and this is the thing. So now they're actually saying, should the government restrict tourism to Spain because of this? Should they, if the people who live there, the people who are taxpayers, are not allowed or able to fill their swimming pools, which is normally how they might cool themselves. So instead they're going to use air conditioning and stuff like that, assuming they have it. Whilst the resorts are bringing in mass amounts of tourists and they're having their pools full. Is that right? Is that just? And so there's some pretty strong debate about that right now. Yeah, I mean, there is talk about it. So you're definitely going to want to keep an eye on that one. But it's difficult to say. Yeah, I suppose it's going to depend what happens. And really right now, everybody knows we're in an El Nino weather pattern right now, and have been for the last couple of years. And then we'll be moving into La Nina, which is colder and wetter. But nobody's really sure when this is going to happen, and everybody's assuming it's going to happen, and we're not going to go into this sort of limbo-ness, although we might. And if we do, for how long? Is it going to be the whole summer? Is it going to be part of the summer? Or are the tables just going to turn and it's going to be like the worst summer on record for sunshine? I don't know. It wouldn't be a bad thing to get some more rain pretty much anywhere, well, except for, Hawaii, where it's flooding. Did you guys see this yesterday? I should have got a clip of that. It was, I think it was in Honolulu, and the vehicles were driving in like 4 feet of water because they've had so much heavy rain. So, the weather's just weird all over the place. But yeah, so it's interesting. It'll be interesting to see what happens with Spain. But Europe's had so many problems over the last few years with river cruising as well. There's too much water, there's too little water, so it's really impacting things. And I guess I'm curious, due to this, are you buying travel insurance? Having seen a few of these weather phenomena happen, and seeing how it can just change your trip completely. Yeah. So yeah, Dee Dee, you might want to take a look at a backup plan on that one, or keep an eye on the situation at any rate. When are you going? I forget. I'm sure you've said. I want to say that you'd said it was like July or August, but I can't recall exactly. But so who knows? I mean, if it's a couple of months away, things could completely turn around. Fingers crossed, right? So yeah, we'll see what's happening. Yeah, so that's kind of me for the week. That's not a whole lot going on other than all this crazy stuff with weather and lack of rain, too much rain. It's a little bit crazy. Look into a pretty good travel insurance. Good. Yeah. Well, I mean, so you've got the insurance, so at least you don't have your money at risk, but it sucks. You got a trip planned, you're looking forward to it, and and things go sideways. So I don't know, maybe start looking at an alternate plan so that if this one slides, you've got something else that you can slip into place quite easily. I mean, it's like I've got a trip July 6th. Might be getting on a cruise to Alaska. Might not. Wait and see. My girlfriend and I did a video on this. Holland America's got a program where you can basically pay for like a standby rate. So, I mean, it was a smoking deal on the cruise, but we won't find out until at best a week before we depart. At worst, 48 hours before we depart, if there's space on the cruise. The week before, the week after, we can see, or we can use our systems to see that there are some of the cruises that are completely sold out. So I'm like, oh, well, how much is Hyatt Vivid? I wonder if I could get back there. Not joking. Seriously, not joking. Oh, we want to do an Alaska cruise, but the wife just isn't interested. Beach girl. Yeah, well, but Alaska is beautiful. I mean, it's really, if you haven't been and you're American, you should go see that part of your country. It's very, very different. You cruise up the Inside Passage, you'll almost certainly see, we saw bears, we saw wild goats. We see like not foxes, but coyotes or something, although I see them in my backyard, so big whoop. But it's just, and seeing the glaciers, it's kind of like going to see the Niagara Falls, which I found both overwhelming and underwhelming at the same time, if that makes sense. It was bigger than I expected, and more majestic. The power of it, just the roar of the water coming over the falls was quite something. And similarly, seeing the glaciers. We went into Glacier Bay, and I kind of wish that I'd done an Alaska cruise like 10 or even 20 years ago, because it would be interesting to see how much it's changed, how much the glaciers have shrunk, and how those have changed, that kind of thing. But Dee Dee, set her up with some spa treatments and get some nice dinners booked, and she'll be fine. But it really is, it's a once in a lifetime thing to see. And it's and hey, Vancouver, like I said, like I keep saying, your dollar is worth about $1.40, $1.35, $1.40 Canadian. So yeah, you can really have a nice like couple 2-3 nights pre-departure. Come and stay in a really nice hotel downtown. I will tell you all the great places to eat, all the great food trucks to hit as well. And yeah, it'll be cheap as chips for you. So yeah, take another run on that one, I think. But yeah. So yeah, like I said, I'll find out in I guess a month's time or a little bit more than a month if I'm going on a cruise as well. So like I said, I need to make a bit of a alternate plan for that. But we'll see. There might be a live from Cancun coming up soon. Wouldn't that be nice? I would love to go back and see what the hotel is like now, having been opened. Well, I guess that would be 3 months open, so it would be interesting to see how much has changed. But time will tell. So thanks for tuning in today, everybody. Really appreciate it. Really appreciate the support. If you haven't gone ahead and hit that like button, please do so. And don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell button so that you get notifications of when I'm randomly going live or if I've posted a new video. I know there's been just so many about there's been so many videos about the Hyatt Vivid, and I've got a couple more to do, but yeah, we'll see. Angela, when are we booking our follow-up trip? I know, right? I so want to go back. I would love it. Thanks for tuning in today, Dee Dee and Angelo and everybody else. And if you're tuning in later, well, thanks again for tuning in later and watching. So I hope you guys have a great week, and we'll see you next Wednesday. Same bat time, same bat channel. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that or not. It's probably copyright. Oh, well, don't tell anyone. And yeah, more videos coming up this weekend, so stay tuned. So have a great week, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.